Hi and welcome to the examination presentation for music, dance and drama. I'm your tutor. My name is Marie van Skalkwyk and my contact details appear on screen. This PowerPoint presentation is intended to give you an overview of music, art, drama as well as artistic opinion. I would urge you to download a copy of the PowerPoint presentation from your student portal because we've got a lot of ground to cover. And if there's anything that you're unsure of, please don't hesitate to contact me. I would just like to ask you, when you write your examinations, please make sure that you write clearly. If I can't read your work, I can't mark it. So take a deep breath and write clearly, please. So we can start. I'm sure that quite a lot of you have asked yourself, why do you have a subject called music, dance and drama? Why is it important to teach young learners creative or expressive arts? Now, if you type these words into a search engine, you would find quite a lot of opinions, ranging from UNESCO, who says that if we teach creative and expressive arts, then this will bring about world peace, to somebody called E.B. Feldman, who's of the position that if we don't teach creative arts and expressive arts to our young children, then civilized life as we know it will not go on. This, however, doesn't help us at all, because we need to know, why do we need to teach creative and expressive arts to our young learners now? Now, the easy answer is that creative arts aids learning in all contexts. In other words, if you can't imagine, if you can't be creative, you can't learn to read, you can't do mathematics, you can't solve problems, you've got no spatial awareness, all of these things. This is why it is of the utmost importance that we prepare our classes for our young learners with knowledge and with skill and also with comprehension of what we are trying to teach them. On that note, I think that we can start. Now, creative parts play a very, very important role in our everyday life. In fact, it is so important that all the expressive and creative arts are used for therapy. Now, in your study guide, you will see how the creative arts form part of our everyday lives. I would like to urge you to please read through and learn these sections carefully so that you understand why it is important that we know what we can do with the art forms. Music therapy is the only therapy that's highlighted in your study guide. And this is also an example of a practical application of creative arts. Now, why do you think music therapy is a successful therapeutic medium? I would like you to think about that and then go and read the section and learn the section on music therapy in your study guide. Now, there are more practical applications of the other expressive arts of dance and drama, and also more of music. You will find them all in your study guide. Please familiarize yourself with them and learn them in preparation for your exams. Now, in your study guides, you will see that there are various reasons for why music, drama and dance is important for your young learners to learn. I've only highlighted 5 points for each of these on the PowerPoint presentation. However, there's lots more in your study guide. Please make sure that you know them, and for all the creative arts. Now, we're going to start with dance. It's of the utmost importance that you know how your body works in order for you to be able to teach your pupils creative dance. And in light of that, we're going to start with joints. Please make sure that you know the difference in the purpose of all ball and soccer joints, what's a hinge joint, a pivot joint, and an ellipsoidal joint. Now, this is very easy to do actually. Read the theory in your book and then try and see if you can locate that joint on your body. You can see the way that it moves or don't move and what movement this allows your body to do. If you do practical exercises like this for all the theoretical concepts in your study guides, this will not help you to understand what is meant by the theory and the terminology, but it will also help you to apply this in your classes. You can't teach young pupils about ball and soccer joints if you don't know where they are located in your own body or how they work. The same with the muscles. Know and understand what is meant by terms such as core, diaphragm, hip joint, muscle, muscle posture, respiration, rotator cuff and tendons. I would also urge you to draw an outline of the human body on a piece of paper and see if you can actually fill in all of these terminology on this outline. Make sure you understand what each of them do and see if you can experiment with any movement associated with it. Anatomical terminology, You also need to know what's meant by anatomical position, body cavity, organ, pelvic floor, and tissue. You need to understand the 8 systems of the body. If you don't know how the systems of the body work, you will not be able to understand quite a lot of the theory that's required of you. Can you answer the question, what's the purpose of the bones in the body? Go think about it a little bit, and then you can experiment with this question as well. Now that you know, or once you have actually read through and learned about the different things that the body is made of, you will actually realize why warm-up is such an important part of dance. Not only does it help your body get ready for exercise, but it also helps to prevent injuries, and it also will make your dance class more enjoyable. Now, in your study guide, there are 5 warm-up exercises: neck isolations, hip swings, heel raises, leg swings, and the lunge stretch that they explain to you in some detail. Please ensure that you know these off by heart, that you know why they are important, and that you know how they work. Once again, try them out practically. So do the neck isolation, do the hip swings, so that you can understand how they work and that you can also apply them to your own class. Something that aids or something that dance aids in the development of young learners is motor skills. Now, if you don't know what motor skills are, then you are going to have real trouble teaching your kids anything in school. Now, motor skills are all the movements we need to lift, push, or carry. This also includes the movements that we need to write, our eye movements that we need to read, movements that we need to stay still on a chair, and so on and so forth. You get fine motor skills. Please make sure that you know what these are. These are the small muscles. It's used for stuff like writing, or when you pick up something between your fingers, or when you move your eyes, or your tongue, or your lips. All of these are examples of fine motor skills. In your study guide, you will get more detail on fine motor skills. Gross motor skills is the large muscles of the body. These are things like when you roll down a hill or when you push a wagon. It's also the first set of skills that a child learns to master. Make sure that you know what gross motor skills are. There are a lot more information on your study guide. Please go through it carefully. You need to know this. The third type of motor skill that you need to know is perceptual motor skills. Now, you might get confused because there is somewhat of a correlation between fine motor skills and gross motor skills and perceptual motor skills. But perceptual motor skills are the motor skills that allows us to do athletic activities and to interact with our environment. Now, there are 3 ways in which we learn perceptual motor skills. The cognitive stage, and this is understanding what we need to do. The associative stage, this is doing it. And then the autonomous stage, this is doing it better. There are examples of perceptual motor skills in your study guide. Make sure that you know what they are, what they mean, and what they do. Now, after we've done warm-ups and dance, we know how our body works, we are going to the next big element of dance classes, dance sessions, and dance shows. And this is music. Now, as you can think, music plays a very important role in any dance scenario, because this is very important when you create choreography. Music tells the story that the dance is expressing. It tells the emotion of the dance. So you can't have a piece of music whose emotion is very different from the tone of the piece of choreography that you're doing. As this seems to be a very difficult concept to grasp for students, I would like you to do the following exercise with me. I would like you to think of something really sad. Now I want you to create a movement to go with this feeling. It doesn't have to be a big movement. You can just do a small movement. And I want you to repeat it. I also want you, while you are repeating this movement that reminds you of your sad feeling, to note your body posture. Quite often, when we are feeling sad, our bodies goes inward. Okay, now whilst you are doing this, I would like you to keep on doing this while you listen to me sing this following song. Celebrate good times, come on! It's a celebration. Does your movement still make sense when you do it while I sing? I didn't think so. This is why it's so important that you match the correct music to the correct choreography. Now, in your study guides and on the PowerPoint presentation, you will find quite a lot of help in how to choose the correct music for the correct scenario. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. Your audience, if this is going to be a bunch of elderly people, you can't use something too young because they won't understand, and vice versa. The purpose of the choreography, you need to listen to the music, you need to listen to the words, to this mood, to the emotion of the song, okay? And the more information you have on selecting the music, the easier it will be. Okay, now what's important for you to remember is that anyone can dance. You don't need to have any formal dance training in order to convey the joy and excitement of your class. After all, we all go clubbing or dancing at weddings or something, and then all of us can dance. So you need to convey this enjoyment to your kids. Now, in your study guide, there's a sample dance class regarding spatial position and directionality. Make sure that you know how the sample class works. Read through it, memorize it, and then what I would like you to do is go teach it to somebody, either to yourself or to a friend or even to a class. This will give you a basic understanding of how a dance class should operate. And once you have the basic understanding, of course, now you can build your own dance classes on that with other terms that you would like to do. Now, as with any other art form, dance have got various subgenres like ballet, contemporary dance, and jazz. If you don't know what these are, please go look on the internet. There are videos available on all of these, just so that you know what ballet is. It doesn't help that you tell people that this is a dance form which is very poised with lots of rules if you've never seen it, because then you can actually describe anything. Now, dance have got various famous practitioners. You also need to know their names and why they are famous. And as with dance, music also have famous practitioners, and some of these are described in your study guide. Quite a lot of these are actually local. So do you know why they are famous? If you don't, please make sure that you learn it. It's in your study guide. Music makes use of various terminology. These are terms like pulse, duration, tempo, pitch, dynamic, structure, timbre, texture, style, harmony, rhythm, and melody. All of these are discussed in a lot of detail in your study guide. You need to know this off by heart, as this forms the basis of all your music classes. Now, once you have learned the definition of the basic terms, once again, go out and see if you can't practically experiment with these. Once again, it will aid with your understanding, it will help you understand what they are, but it will also help you to apply these to a class situation. Now, just as anyone can dance, anyone can appreciate music. Music can enlighten, it can anger, it can lift spirits. We can have arguments about what is good music, what is bad music, and still music will prevail. And in light of this is the feeling that you need to teach your students. Okay, now there is in your study guides and on the PowerPoint presentation, you will find various ways that you can engage your learners in music, that you can teach learners new songs, that you can introduce songs to them. I would like you to go study these. Once again, also try them out practically. That will help you remember, and it will also help you understand. No expensive equipment or store-bought instruments are necessary to teach music. And this is very, very important, because this is also quite often the excuse that quite a lot of people give for not teaching music to our young students. But using your voice or your body or CD player or homemade instruments, you can offer your students great music classes. Now, you can use your voice to teach learners to sing in a group. I've given some pointers on the PowerPoint presentation, which you can look at a later stage, but it is discussed in detail in your study guide, so make sure that you know how to do it. You can also use your body to teach learners body percussion. It's as easy as that. Your body is your instrument. There's various ways of body percussion. All of these are listed in your study guide. You need to make sure how they work. You need to make sure what they are. And once again, try them out practically so that you can see how they work and what they are. You can use percussion instruments in your classes. They can be natural or fabricated. Natural is something that you find, a seed pod, for example. Fabricated is something that you make. The fabricated music instruments doesn't need to be bought. You can make them. In your study guide, there are lots of information, pictures, and directions on how to make percussion instruments. please study these carefully. And I would also like to ask you, make them. It's not going to take a lot of your time. Your students are going to love making them on their own one day. So make them, then you understand, then you won't just list a couple of useless facts which doesn't make any sense. Okay, you can also use a CD player to teach a song to young children by introducing it as background music. More on this on your study guides and also on the PowerPoint presentation. Now, drama has many elements and terminology, and it is necessary and important, as with all the other expressive arts, that you know these. If you don't know them, you can't really use them. I would like, however, to stand still and just give you a couple of pointers on masks, costume, props, set, scenery, and puppets, because that seems to be the terminology that you have got the most difficulty with. Now, costume and masks are often grouped together, but they are not the same thing. A mask is something that you put on your face. So once you've got a mask on, you can either see part of your face or you can't see your face at all, okay? Masks are there to represent the actor becoming, or the character becoming another character, becoming something else. They can also convey the same amount of information that costume can with regards to characteristics, social standing, and so on. But they are not costume, they are something else entirely. Okay, make sure that you know what masks are. Now, your students will enjoy making masks, they will enjoy playing with masks. Not only does it stimulate their creativity, but it also offers them a safe space to explore quite often difficult or confrontational themes, because they can explore it as the other. Now, costume are the clothes and the accessories an actor wears. Costume, however, just to make it a little bit more difficult, can also become a prop. Although it's not part of props, it can become part of props. If I, for example, wear a hat, then the hat is part of my costume. However, if I use the hat to scoop up some water, for example, the hat becomes a prop. Now you're going to ask me, what is a prop? Now, the full name of a prop is properties, and that's all the physical objects that characters use in a drama. Can be anything from a telephone to a chair. Okay. Now, they can be symbolic or real props, and you can read lots more about them and learn lots more about them in their study guides. I want you also to remember, though, that props can once again become part of set. Now, how are you going to ask me, does that work? The set is all the physical elements that the characters don't use, but that are used to make up the scene. For example, where I'm sitting now, I'm sitting on a chair. I'm only using the chair to sit on. I'm not using the chair, or I'm not holding it in my hands or striking somebody with it. So the chair is a prop. However, once I pick up the chair and start beating the camera with it, then it becomes a prop, because then it becomes something that I use. Scenery and set goes hand in hand, and the scenery usually conveys the look. Say, for example, you have a theatre piece that's set in the 1950s. Then all your scenery, the paintings on the wall, the wallpaper that you use, for example, for the floods, that's going to convey the feeling of 1950s. Okay. A puppet is a physical object that's manipulated by an actor. Now, this can be a marionette, it can be a stick puppet, it can be a finger puppet. Okay. Please make sure that you know the difference between prop, puppet, set, costume, and masks. You often get this confused in the exams, and then you lose valuable marks. There's lots of information on this in your study guides. Please make sure that you study it. Now, puppets, like mime, is something that students enjoy and that can actually aid students that doesn't have English as a first language, or students that are shy, to open up and also to get them involved in drama. There's an exercise in your study guide that you can do with regards to puppets, but think about it this way. If you think about a simplistic story that you know really, really well, can you now visualize what characters are needed to portray the story? Once you can visualize the characters, I would like you to think, what if these characters were puppets? What would the puppets look like? What type of puppets would they be? Once you've done that, you've just dramatized the story using puppets. So it's not that difficult. More information on dramatizing stories using puppets is in your study guides. Please study it and then teach it to your class. Mime is just as wonderful as puppets to introduce and engage young learners in drama. Mime uses movements without words. So especially for students who does not have, for example, English as the first language, you can engage them in drama by doing drama without doing words. In your study guide, there are a mime exercise. I would like you to do it yourself, and then I would like you to do it with others. Once again, if you do a practical exercise for everything that you learn in theory, this will help you understand it. It will help you remember it. And otherwise, you will learn it easier because your body will remember it. And it will help you apply it in your own class. Role play is also a dramatic convention that I want you to take note of. You can use it to investigate different roles in different classes in society. It can provide students with fresh insights, understanding, empathy, and it also helps them to develop social skills. Now, in your study guide, there's an in-depth discussion regarding the benefits of role play for young learners. Once you've completed that section, I want you to try and set up a role play for either you and a friend, or if you are already teaching, for your class, which investigates how a community functions. Now, for that, for you to be able to create a role play like that, you have to go do your homework first. You have to think, what is a community? What elements are made up of a community? What people do we get in a community? And this is of all classes, okay? And once you've done all of that, set up a role play and see where it goes. Explore the different roles. If it's you and a friend that's doing it, you will feel the benefits for yourself, or if it's you in your class, please observe how the kids are learning by doing. And this will also then highlight the importance of why drama is important for learners, why it promotes empathy, why it promotes social understanding and social awareness. Now, despite all the wonderful benefits of drama, when people hear the word drama, they still associate it with big theatrical shows. And of course, at some stage in your career, in school, you are probably going to be expected to do a show for your kids. Now, it can be daunting. However, your study guide provides you with a checklist, which you can use as a blueprint on how to start the show from inception to the end. Make sure that you know how to do this. Familiarize yourself with it, and even have a mock theatre production, which you go through the checklist. A practical exercise like this, once again, helps you understand and will help you memorize. Now, artistic opinion is the last section that we are going to take. Criticism, which is basically what an artistic opinion is part of our everyday lives. We can't escape it. And when you create an expressive arts piece, whether this is a piece of dance or a piece of music or a theatre show, people are going to be opinionated by it. Some people are going to like it, others aren't. Okay? This can't be helped. However, you can learn how to deal with criticism. In your study guide, you will find long sections on how to deal with criticism and why it is hard often to accept positive criticism. But what I would also like you to remember, artistic critique or criticism should not always be perceived as negative, because it's something that can help you grow and help you develop and help you become a better artist. Okay? Now, anyone can appreciate art, music, or drama, but art critique is the evaluation of a piece of work. In your study guide, they give you 4 steps to develop an art critique. Please make sure that you know what they are, that you know how they follow on one another, and what you should do at each step. Then, do the practical exercise once again. Find an artwork and try to create an art critique of the work using the methodology that was described, the 4 steps. Now, your study guide also provides you with sample questions that you can ask, as well as technical aspects that you should look out for. If you have access to the internet, you can even take this a little bit further. You can find a well-known artwork with a known art critique and write your own. After you've written your own with regard to the artwork, go look up the art critique that was written by a professional and see if there's any differences, if there's anything that the professional critic spotted that you didn't. Maybe you spotted something that they didn't. And this would just be an exercise in comparison that will also help you learn and hone your skills. If you are required to critique a theatre piece, there are 8 elements that are listed in your study guide which you can look out for. They are acting, directing, space, scenery, costumes, lighting, and text and characters. Okay? In your study guides, there are sample questions for all of these. Make sure that you know what they mean and what the questions are. You can also, in an overall evaluation, think of what the artist's goals are with this piece and how they have succeeded. Now, what the artist's goals mean is it means did they want to have a critique on government? Is it a political play? Did they want to tell you something specific? Did they have a specific message that they wanted to convey? Or was it just a piece of fun? Now, it's not easy to go see a live theatre production. So I would suggest you rent a movie and then you try and make a theatre critique of the movie. You can still use the 8 elements like lighting and characters and all of these. And once again, if you have access to the internet, make the exercise more interesting for you. After you've written the critique of the movie, search the internet for a completed or published evaluation and see how yours compare to it. Now, as I said, if you are faced with critique or criticism, there are ways that you can react to it that can help. Now, none of us like criticism. Quite often we feel that it takes a little bit away from us. However, if you follow the steps in your study guide, it would be easier for you to accept criticism and also to differentiate between false criticism, constructive criticism, and destructive criticism. Make sure that you know all of these off by heart. Then, how to react to praise is also difficult, and the reasons for that is psychological. Now, that is also described in some detail in your study guide. Also make sure that you know that. I think it's not only important for you to know how to accept praise and how to respond to criticism with regards to the creative or the expressive arts, but also with regards to how you live life in general. None of us like to hear something about ourselves that we don't like, but this will help with that as well. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about quickly is group work. The ability to work well in a group is one of the most important things that we can teach our young learners, because ideally it means that they learn about the wisdom of a collective experience and also of group deliberation. Now, in your study guide, there are steps and exercises that you can do with regards to teaching students or young learners the value of group work and also what you can do. What I want you to do, once again, however practical, once you've looked through the exercises that are suggested in your study guide, see if you can't make up your own. And once again, try these out, either in your classroom or with a friend, or even if there's nobody that you can try it out with, write it down on a piece of paper. It will once again help you to understand, and it will help you to remember, and it will help you to apply later on. Now, in conclusion, the creative and the expressive arts are part of our everyday lives, so it should be a natural extension to use it in your classrooms, not only for the benefits that was listed at the beginning of this presentation, but also for the mere fact that there's lots of studies that suggest that a creative classroom is a more organized classroom and also a more disciplined classroom. Now, that I think in itself is a great reason to have a creative classroom. Music, dance, and drama is by nature a practical subject. It's something that you can read about, but it is out there. That's why it's called expressive. You express yourself. So once again, as I've repeated ad nauseam now, learn the theory and put it into practice. If you put it into practice, you'll understand exactly what's being meant by it. You'll see where the difficulties are, what the benefits are. Once you understand that, you will understand the work better, you will be able to learn the work better, and you'll be able to apply it in your own classrooms, which is, after all, the purpose of you studying this course. Now, the physical mastery of techniques, methods, and elements and processes described are important, because if you can't yourself do the warm-up, how are you going to teach it to your learners? Okay, so I can't emphasize that enough. And then one final thought, the enjoyment of the arts should be for both the teacher and the students. If you don't enjoy teaching music or teaching dance or teaching drama, your students won't enjoy it. I think it's one of the few places that we are still allowed to play when we teach drama, or when we teach dance, or when we teach music. So play with your students, learn from them, and allow them to learn from you. Thank you very much. Don't hesitate to contact me if there's anything that you would like to know, or any clarity that you would like.